And we are live. What's going on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live? It's your boy Billy Rowe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Wednesday, you should already know what that means by now. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is you are not required to be your parents. As always, I like to share what I mean by my topic. So, what do I mean by the topic? You're not required to be your parents. So, first off, let me say this topic does not matter whether or not you have kids or you don't have kids. This is really about the identity in which we have and having an identity that is flexible to the experiences that we've had or the guidance that we may have been given by our parents or even given by the absence of our parents. So, tonight I have three tools for you, three tools for the first row that I want to share with you when it comes to this topic of you are not required to be your parents. So let's jump straight into it. Tool number one, when it comes to you're not required to be your parents, man, that's a long title, is learn when to adapt and learn when to build. Knowing the difference, and before I even go there, I think this is really, really critical to freeing or liberating ourselves from the perspective that we feel like, hey, we are a product of our environment. We are a product of our parents or where we grew up, how we grew up, what life experience we've had. Some of that is true. We are the sum of all of our experiences, but learning when to adapt and learning when to build. This is so pivotal on how we allow our experiences to determine who we are and really start to cultivate our identities. So, from the adaptation point of view, when we learn how to adapt, what we're basically saying is, hey, we have an experience, or we were given advice, or we were taught by our parents this particular skill set. And the skill set at the foundation or fundamentally can be a great skill set, or the tool can be a great tool. However, in today's world, when we were taught that tool, maybe it was wonderful, but in today's world, there's another tool or some additions or updates to that tool that can better utilize the tool or better make the tool, I guess, make the tool more effective. And so when we're looking at adaptation or how we're going to adapt, what we're saying is we have something that's a good base, but we're going to I don't want to say reinvent it because I don't believe that you always have to reinvent the wheel, but we're going to enhance it. And when we know when something is healthy for us, it just needs a small little tweak. What that does is it keeps us from having to start all the way over at the beginning, undoing all the screws. Think about if the TV behind me is mounted. Think about all the screws and the things that went into place to set up that mount. And if you do something wrong, how you would, oh man, I need to get a whole mount. That's the wrong mount for the TV that I have. Now you got to undo all the screws and take everything apart and start again with the new mount that you get. You also might have to do some what is it called? Spackling of the wall, some repainting of the wall, and some things that you really didn't want to do. That's why it's kind of important to do it right the first time if you can. And this is what adaptation is. It's saying, hey, instead of going back and tearing things all the way down, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we have and tweak it a little bit. So maybe I have the right screws in there or the right frame, but I don't have the right screws for the TV. So I'm going to go and buy the right screws instead of taking apart the whole entertainment center just to put the TV on a new entertainment center. The other side of that is knowing when to build. And knowing when to build is saying, hey, you know what? This tool that my parents gave me, this tool that I picked up along the way in my life experiences, this tool doesn't work for me. This tool actually is detrimental to the success of the identity that I want to have. And so knowing when we need to actually tear down everything down to the studs, or maybe demolish the entire house or demolish the entire structure, we demolish the whole thing because now it's time to build. And there's a good side about building as well. Though it's more work, I'm not going to lie, it's more work. There is a good portion about building that you get to really create or innovate what it is that you're trying to create. And you may get some measurements wrong. If you're building a house, you might get measurements wrong. When you're building your identity, you might get some measurements wrong. But it's okay because you're building and you don't have to tear the whole house apart. Sometimes we do that. I used to do that as a kid when I'd get frustrated. Tear it all up because it's not doing what I wanted it to do. throw that temper tantrum, and now you got to start building all over again. But knowing when or learning when you should adapt and when you should build is the number one tool for a reason, because you're not required to be your parents, but it doesn't mean that everything that you've learned through your life experiences is completely disposable. Some things just need to be enhanced or evolved to the way the world may operate now, or not even the way the world operates now, the way that you operate now. Before I move on to tool number three, because I'm trying to get better at being into the chat live. What's going on, casual? Hey, Rashida, Gina, glad to see you, and Karina. What? I got Karina Yellow on here. That's a gift in and of itself. Thank you guys for joining live. But moving on, tool number two, when it comes to you are not required to be your parents, is stick to your identity. Man, it's there's a lot to unpack in this particular tool. The first thing is a lot of us I believe a lot of us, and myself, I've been guilty of this in the past, are running around with these undercover identities. Like, we have an identity that we show everybody. This is who I want you to think I am. This is who I want you to think. This is who I want you to believe that I am. Um, and then we have the identity that is who we truly are. And when we're running around with this undercover identity, what ends up happening is people who don't know us assume at face value. We just had this conversation yesterday on Tara Michelle and Billy Rowe Live about exposing the mask. People assume at face value that you are who you present to be, and you might not be that person. So stick to the identity means present your true identity and then stick to that. And I know, like, firsthand that can be a very difficult thing for some of us to do. For me, I don't even want to say used to. I still believe I probably do have a temper. So I'm quick to get hot, quick to flare off, and I have to really be in control of that identity, because I don't want that to be my identity. It doesn't mean it's not a part of who I am. However, I don't want that to be my identity. So I'm not regularly feeding that identity. And because I'm not regularly feeding that identity, I don't lead with that identity in interactions with people. And so it's easy for a person to interact with me and think, man, he's easygoing, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden they do something that may offend me, or something that I'm sensitive to. And I have to be conscious that, hey, this temper that you have, you got to make sure that you're keeping that in check. So are you going to invest in this temper identity, or are you still going to invest in the true identity that you want? And part of that, I could easily say, oh, well, I grew up in a house with domestic violence. And so, it's very logical that I would have a temper and all these different things. But really, at some point, sticking to your identity is about getting out of the habit of blaming other people for the identity that inevitably at some point, you choose. I'm not saying that there's not unfortunate circumstances out there that may drive you or assist you to making poor choices in identity. But at the end of the day, as difficult as it may be to choose the identity that you want, you choose it. And it sounds very simple. It sounds very easy, but that's truly what it comes down to. Challenges to the side, work to the side, whatever frustrations to the side. The identity that we are leading with should be our authentic identity, and we should be willing to stick to that. At some point, again, we are who we choose to be. The other thing about sticking to your identity, though, and this is what I love, and this is what I've had to learn to embrace as there's been opportunities for me to lose my temper, lose my cool, is embracing the fact that by sticking to my identity, by sticking to the identity that I want for myself, what I am doing is at some point I'm taking my power back from the circumstances and chances of things that I may experience in life. I am taking back power over the true trajectory of my life. Because when I say, oh, well, it's just who I am, I have a temper, so you just got to learn to live with that, then what I'm doing is I'm giving myself permission to say, hey, whenever you are upset or emotionally frustrated or hurt or whatever it may be, it's okay to just do whatever you want to do and then blame your temper. But when I say, hey, look, this is who I want to be. I want to be compassionate. I want to be understanding. I want to be wise and be able to give people counsel and mentorship. When I say that's who I want to be, now I lose that pass, that what do they say, the get out of jail free card on Monopoly. I lose that get out of jail free card to say, oh, my temper made me do it. So sticking to your identity is tool number 2, because of the fact that once you have learned to adapt and you learn to build and you kind of create what you want your identity to be, the next step is sticking to your identity. Stick to what you've built. Stick to what you've adapted to. I'm not saying that it can't change over time. I'm not saying it can't evolve over time, but stick to who you want to be. And I believe there's a true north compass that points in that direction. And we all inherently and intrinsically know what that compass is. And we know when we're veering off course. So that's tool number 2. And then the third and the final tool when it comes to you do not have to be your parents is forgive your parents and then forgive yourself. Man, there's just so much to unpack in this, and my energy is just through the roof because I really am just on fire about this particular Wednesday work for some reason. But forgive your parents. Again, doesn't matter whether your parents were in your life, out of your life, died at a young age, abandoned you, were there for you. None of that matters. Forgive them for whatever it is that they brought into your experience. And then the other part is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself isn't just about the choices you've made, but forgiving yourself is being able to go back and look at some of the decisions that you made and the experiences that you encountered that may have been self-inflicted wounds, that may have been self-sabotage, that may have been accidental, that may have been mistakes. Looking at those situations and saying, I forgive you for making those choices. I forgive you for the decisions that you made in the past that put us in the position that we're in today. It is a powerful thing when you're able to look back at your former self, yourself who lacks the knowledge that you have today, yourself that lacks the experience that you have today, yourself that lacks the foresight that you have today. It's an amazing and a liberating feeling when you're able to take that person and hold them harmless for the experiences that they've brought you through, and be grateful that you have adapted and grown through those experiences. Just like your parents didn't know everything, and I'm learning this because I have 3 children and a stepdaughter. I don't even like the word stepdaughter. I have 4 children, a daughter and 3 sons. I'm learning this, that just as they come to me and assume that I know the answer, I don't know everything. And sometimes I get things wrong. And that's why it's important to forgive your parents. It's important to forgive those people who may have wronged you in the past or may have misled you or misguided you in the past. It's important to forgive them and let that go, because just like sticking to your identity brings the power back, forgiving somebody and moving forward with your life in the most productive and healthy way that you possibly can also invigorates and initiates that power. So that's what I got for you guys today. What's going on, Patsy? It's good to see you. Really quick to bring into the chat. Let's see. Good timing. I was doing laundry, and this is the perfect reason to take a break. I'm glad you're here. Good evening, Rashida. Casual, always good to have you in here. Karina, hola, hola. And then we got Bruce, too grown to still be blaming past experiences for current behavior. Woo, man. Hey, that's why forgive your parents, forgive yourself, get out of that. Number 3, fire for Bruce. Patsy, I'm so glad that you joined us. And number 3 is I think that's where you're at, hopefully, because everybody can be at different times in the video. And then also, hey, finally able to tune in. I love your speaking. I appreciate it. And I hope you love the book as well. So as always with the Wednesday word, well, before we even go there, really quick, let's go over the 3 tools that we shared tonight, or that were shared tonight on the first row. Number 1 being, learn when to adapt and when to build. Again, you can either add to and enhance and help evolve something into something better, or you can completely tear it down and innovate and build something brand new. Rule number 2, or tool number 2, is stick to your identity. It's your identity. You cannot blame who you choose to be at the end of the day on anybody other than the person making the choice. And as I tell my children, hey, I could tell you everything that you're supposed to do. I could create consequences, but at the end of the day, The choices you make are the choices you make, and I don't have any control over that. And then tool number 3 is forgive your parents and then forgive yourself. Forgive your parents, forgive the past experiences, the past transgressions that maybe somebody committed against you, and then forgive yourself for maybe not having the wisdom or the knowledge or maybe even the courage to make better decisions, but also be grateful that today you do have the ability to do those things. Now, as always with the Wednesday word, I like to share a personal story, something that got me thinking about the topic, something that really just kind of started buzzing. First off, before I even say that, I want to say what actually launched this topic for me was a conversation I was having with B Gatewood 82, who's live in the chat. We were having this conversation, and I have tons of conversations with people that are deep, and then some are superficial as far as just like, hey, how you doing? What's new? Blah, 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 blah. But we were having this conversation, and I remember in the middle of the conversation saying, man, you don't have to be your parents. That's a whole Wednesday word. And I just started writing the tools right then because it immediately resonated with me. And maybe that's where the energy is coming from, is that I knew when I heard that title, I knew exactly what it meant for me personally. And I knew exactly how I have tried to move away from being just the parent that my parents were to me. So with that, I would like to share a personal story, something that I also reflected on. And it's more so about my relationship with my eldest son. He's an adult now, and I had the benefit of having a conversation with him a couple months back. I think it was like maybe almost a year ago. He was in town, and we were talking, and I was like, "Hey, son, I have your middle brother or your little brother living with us here in Utah, and I'm really trying to improve upon the type of parent that I was to you with him. What were some of the things as your father that I failed on, and you maybe feel I missed my mark on? Maybe I was a little too hard or too strict on. And what are some of the things that worked that you feel are good and should be implemented into the relationship?" And he told me, he was like, "Hey, you used to yell at me and you would cuss at me, and I'd be like, ooh, I'd be so mad at you because you'd cuss at me when you were yelling at me. And part of that, I felt like it wasn't necessary." He said, but then he's in the military now. He's like, but then I go to the military where they cuss at you and they yell at you. So I feel like on the other side of that, you kind of prepared me for what life can be like, because not everybody's going to use kind words when they talk to you. But it's something that I heard, and I'm trying to curb with my younger child. Yeah, there's times where I talk to him or I'm disciplining him, and I do still curse at him. And I don't blame that on the temper. I blame that on that's the word that I want to use, because that is the word that gets across the emotion that I feel and keeps me from having to beat you up at 15 years old. So, but the other component of that is being conscious of there's a difference between cussing at a child or cussing a child out because you're angry. And there's a difference between, hey, this is the word that I want to use as an adjective because I'm irritated. It's just, to me, it's no different than one of the things that's one of my rules is I will never physically discipline my children or any other child when I'm angry at them. My intent is not to hurt you. My intent is to correct you and guide you to a better decision. So that is one of my biggest rules. Hey, look, if I'm angry, I might tell you, hey, you need to leave. And my middle son is known. I was, hey, you need to take a walk. Not me. You need to take a walk, because right now I'm so upset. And I realize, again, my temper hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there, but I'm so upset, and I don't want to tap into that part of who I am, because that's not the identity that I want. I want to stick to the identity that I am. And so just having these conversations with my son and with my sons, what I am finding is these are not conversations that I had with my parents. My parents, I believe, loved me, and they cared about me, and they guided me into and helped shape and mold me into who I am today. But these were not the type of conversations that I was having with them. And so in certain aspects of the relationship that I had with my parents, I had to destroy some of that and build a new thing that is not only new to me, it's all it's new to the entire experience because of the fact that it's not something that I experienced, period. And then the other aspect of it is being willing to adapt, being willing to look at the fact that, hey, I might have got some things right. I might have got some things wrong. I might have got some things straight in the middle. But how can I adapt and become a better person? How can I adapt and become a better father? How can I adapt and at the end of the day and become a better Billy? That's what it becomes about. Because the person that I am, my identity that I am as a father to my children, I want that to be a consistent experience. And I want it to be an experience that at the end of the experience, regardless if I got some things right or I got some things wrong, that they understand that the place their father was coming from is a place of love. It may not have always been compassionate, but a place of love. And I try to extend grace and compassion at all times, but I'm not always good at that. So that's what I got for you guys today on the Wednesday Word. I am so glad that you guys are tuned in live. I love you guys engaging on the chat. Chats, I almost called you Chatsky Patsy with that's a different. I love that. And Bruce, adapt and build. I know we're gonna have a conversation about that later on. Just to give you a heads up on what's coming up soon on the first row. First and foremost, as always, if you have not done so yet, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Because there's people who reach out to me and we have conversations and I say, yeah, you need to get the book because that you could take care of all of that in the book. If you haven't gotten your copy of Fire Your Job, Hire Your Passion, please, please, please go to firstrow.com and order your copy of that book today. If you are a person who likes to journal or wants to get into journaling or don't journal at all, on the website, I recommend getting the journal. The journal is a companion to the book. And when you have both the book and the journal, it walks you through that experience, the experiences in the book or the exercises in the book on a completely different level. So if you got the book and you don't have the journal, go and order the journal. If you haven't got the book and you're going to order the book, order the journal with it. But please, please, please go to firstrow.com and order your copy today. The next thing that we have coming up on the first row will be Terilyn, Michelle, and Billy Rowe Live. This will be our 4th episode. This will be Tuesday, April 12th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you fall in between there, you're going to have to do the math yourself. But these shows, they're an hour show, and they have been phenomenal. And I love being on the show with Coach Terilyn Michelle because she just has a vibrancy and a sophistication and a wiseness. I don't even know if that's a word, but a wiseness to who she is. And she just shares nuggets and gems. Actually, yesterday's show, we had author Damian Rowe jump onto the show and provide amazing nuggets of gold nuggets as well and wisdom as well. So it's a show, it's interactive. It's designed for you to be able to come in, engage in the chat, and we'll actually be posting the link so you can jump in, share some information, jump back out, get back into the chat, however you want to do it. So tune in on next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Terilyn Michelle and Billy Rowe Live. Ain't even going to tell you what the topic is. And then lastly, what we have coming up, as always, next week we will have the Wednesday Word. I haven't decided which topic I want to do yet. I have like 3 or 4 topics that I want to kind of vet out and see which one resonates with me because I like coming to the Wednesday Word with this amount of energy, with this bubble. And so the next Wednesday Word will be April 13th, Wednesday, obviously, at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Topic to be determined. If you want to know what that's about, you can either check social media and there will be something posted either on Tuesday or Wednesday early prior to the show, or you can come and catch the show live and find out what the topic is and engage. Other than that, last but not least, as we continue to do things and bring content to you, we want to make sure that we're bringing content to the first row that resonates with you and that is something that you are interested in. So if you have a topic idea, please feel free to send an email to topics@firstrow.com with what that topic idea is. We will create a title, and if we use that topic, we will definitely notify you and let you know when that topic will air. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys this evening. I'm so glad that you guys made it to the live. I hope that you have a wonderful week. As always, if you like this video, share it. If you share it, like it. I'm always happy to engage with you in the comments, in the chat. I'm happy to engage with you in the comments on the replay for up to the first 7 days. And then after that, we're on to the next content. But I just love giving you guys these Wednesday words. And then maybe soon we'll have some Wednesday word guest hosts coming soon to the first row. So stay tuned for that as well. Other than that, thank you guys again for tuning in live. Until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless. Thanks for sitting on the first row.